In a world enamored by Hollywood, its celebrities, their paradigms and ideals, is this where it's at? Join me each week as we discover the deeper meaning, an alternate spark to Hollywood's love, paparazzi, relationships, and empowerment. Yes, my friend, I am sparked by Hollywood. Hollywood claims a stage for empowerment. They claim that celebrities will show us how. They will be our prime examples. And yet, isn't there more? We have celebrities amongst us, neighbors, friends, who have a potent story, a strong voice of empowerment as they inspire, help, and change the lives of those around them. Something far beyond what Hollywood can produce. Welcome to the Sparked by Hollywood Empower series. Thank you for joining today's episode of the Sparked by Hollywood podcast. Today, I'm honored to be joined by Mrs. Chana Carlebach. Chana is the director of BMC Teachers College, named after her son who passed away in infancy. Chana is a world-renowned teacher and speaker on various topics, including education, the role of the Jewish woman, family purity, and marital relationships. Chana, welcome to the show.
I am so excited to be here, and let's dive right in.
Fantastic. As we know, a big topic in Hollywood is women empowerment and feminism in the modern day age. I had spoken in a previous episode about our choice of clothes that we wear and how we portray ourselves to the world as women. And that has a lot to do with empowering ourselves in our sexuality or even just portraying ourselves as women. So a woman had reached out to me afterwards and she said, she's got a couple of nieces and sometimes she feels like they dress a little provocatively. And she asked them, why do you dress like this? A skimpy tank top, short shorts. And they said, because when we walk around, when we go to the mall and people see us, we feel empowered. And she just left it at that. She was trying to figure out where is the empowerment coming from. But today I want to take the topic even further and speak about the woman's empowerment in her intimate life, in her personal life, and sexual life in marriage. So, Chana, there's something potent about the word intimacy and its significance that it has in marriage. Tell us why.
Well, we always say it's very famous now, but everyone says, what is intimacy? Into me see. Please see me. Who am I? And that is the greatest thing that connects two people when they actually feel seen. I was just speaking to a client of mine and I was saying, what makes you feel seen? How do you know that someone's actually seeing? And women in general are deeply spiritual and therefore they actually want to be seen for who they are, which is actually interesting that you mentioned about modesty because that's all about it. And when you're modest, you're actually making others see inside you. Who are you as a human being? Mm-hmm. They're not distracted by just the beautiful outside. I love that you're talking about women empowerment. My students always would say, oh, you're a big feminist, and I would always say to them, yes, I am, but I am a Torah feminist. And what is a Torah feminist? A Torah feminist is God believes in women and who we are. And he gave us the most incredible talents, responsibilities, gifts in the world. And it's about understanding who we are and that we do not have to compete with men. We want to be women. We want to be real women. I always say in Hebrew, man is ish and woman is isha. They both have two of the same letters, which is fire, ish, fire. Plus God's name. The man has the Yud of God and the woman has the Hebrew letter of Hey. And I say, so when we have God in our marriage, we are a fire that warms. And when we are, God forbid, if we put God on the side, it is a fire that consumes. But I always say, men are fire, women are fire, and together we are dynamite. We can accomplish, we can build, we can do everything. And that's what we need to do. Empower women to be women, empower men to be men. And we have a most amazing world.
We absolutely do. And you have spoken in the past that through intimacy, we're able to become one, not only with ourselves, with each other as a couple, but also with God. What does becoming one with God or your spouse look like?
This especially touches women who are deeply spiritual. Sometimes we can't put our finger on what we're feeling. And actually, men also love hearing this because they also, understand themselves better as well. So intimacy is a gift of God to the married couple to connect and become one. In Genesis, right after creation of man and woman, God said, a man shall leave his mother and father, cling to his wife, and they shall be one flesh. And it says, through the becoming of one flesh, they reveal the oneness of their soul. Because actually, as before they were born in this world, right, they were one soul up above, split, went into different families, and then reunited under the marriage canopy. So when they become one physically, because we are a physical world, and in order to bring spirituality down, we have to do physical acts, we actually reveal the oneness of our soul. What's so fascinating is that when God created the world, he created man and female back to back as one, so that they would always feel that they were actually one. And then in order for them to relate to each other, he kind of separated them and be able to be face to face. So God says, you are coming up. You are coming back to what you were originally. That is the mission of this world, to reveal that oneness and that unity. And one of the intentions that I think is very beautiful during intimacy is to feel, and it could be happen during the day, it could be the day before, it could be slightly before, whatever it is, but the intention is to connect on a soul level and to experience the joy that we experienced in the Garden of Eden before we were born, when we were one together. That's the intention of intimacy, to connect as one. And there in one, when there was no obstacles to that oneness, there was incredible joy, harmony, love, passion, desire. It says even in the heavens above, husband and wife are busy in intimacy. It says our great sages entered the Garden of Eden and they saw Abraham in Sarah's arms. So we understand that this is something wholly beautiful and spiritual. So through that oneness, we become not only connected, like you said, to our spouse, but we become connected to God. So number one is because it says that when there is great love and desire, we enable God to come down and join the couple. That's why there says there's three partners to man: God, father, and mother, because God is actually there at the time of creation. This is a mitzvah. Actually, God said it is a mitzvah. This is the way you become close to me, by being intimate. This is holy. This is special. It is considered the holies of holies. Like I say, if you want to do the greatest mitzvah, the greatest holiness, something that elevates the couple, it's this intimacy. Because during intimacy, we become one. And we refer to God as God is one. And so we resemble God in this oneness. And we enable God to come down to this world. I mean, it's pretty awesome if you think about it. When God created the world, he said, let us make man our image. And how did he create them? Male and female. So God, the image of God is male and female together, especially in the act of creation, because intimacy is called act of creation. So male and female in the act of creation, being intimate, is godly, is the closest two human beings can come to reflect God.
Wow, that
Pretty
brings
awesome.
such depth into sexuality, depth into intimacy. And it's interesting because there's so many myths out there about Jewish sex, especially in Hollywood. There are some people who still believe the myth of the hole in the sheet. Someone actually recently asked me, "Oh, so you're an Orthodox Jew. Do you and your husband have this wooden plank down the middle of your bed to separate you from each other?" And okay, let her believe that. But beyond all these myths, Judaism not only promotes sexual connection between a couple, but also stresses the importance of passion in the experience.
In Kabbalah, it actually specifically says that it's important to be flesh on flesh, no intervening substance. There should be no clothes, because it's about being one. How can you be one if physically there is something in between you. And so therefore, the act of being together without clothes, just flesh on flesh, is another thing that brings the unity, that brings the closeness, that brings the oneness. And there's absolutely, we know that Adam and Eve, before they were, before they were sent out of the Garden of Eden, they didn't wear clothes and they were not embarrassed because the body is holy. And that's why prophets, actually, when they used to bring prophecy down, it actually says in the prophets, they would actually take off their clothes and play instruments in order to bring down godliness. And there should be nothing in between, so to say, God and themselves. Today, of course, there's the idea of modesty because we need to protect the holy. We need to protect that which is, sanctified. And so therefore, that's really where the idea of modesty is. We protect it for the special one who are we going to connect to, because we don't want to connect with other people besides our spouse in that special, intimate, and sanctified way. So you asked about passion in marriage. And if we go back to Genesis, which it says, a man shall leave, mother and father and cling to his wife, and they shall be one flesh. So it says, what does it mean to cling? That's the secret. The secret of becoming one is to cling to one's wife, exclusively one's wife. So, I looked it up in the dictionary and I decided, Webster Dictionary, what does it mean, cling? And of course, we know that Hebrew is not a direct connection. And it says to hold on as if you never want to let go. And we know there's different types of hugs, right? You hug someone you're not so close to, a little distance. Someone you're a little closer, you come closer. A child who you love, you want to hug them so much. Like I tell my grandchildren, I want to give you a grandma hug, a bubby hug. That means a deep hug. I love you so much. And of course, that's what God wants in marriage. To become one, there has to be passion. And the very famous parable that I love to give is, if you're trying to make buffalo wings and the ingredients are margarine, hot pepper sauce, ketchup, and soy sauce. Now I'm more healthy. I use olive oil, but in those days, it was margarine. If you want to make a liquid for the buffalo wings, for the wings, to pour over the wings, I don't want to notice any of the ingredients. I want it to be one liquid sauce. What do I need to do?
You have to melt the butter or the margarine.
Exactly. You got to put on the heat. So if we want to achieve unity and oneness, then we need to turn on the heat. And that's why it actually says that the more desire, the more passion, the more love, the more you enable God to come down, because the more you will be able to achieve oneness. And what is the purpose of the passion and the pleasure? To become one.
Absolutely. And you're also a big advocate for good communication in marriage. Why, in your opinion, should couples ask the question after they've been sexually active? Why should they ask the question, how was it? How does that question serve the relationship?
So I totally believe that, we see so many times that couples are intimate, but they never talk about it. Like if you ask them, did you ever have discussion around it? Do you ever discuss, what is enjoyable? Are you enjoying it? Is it meaningful for you? How is it connecting? The discussion is not there. And I would think to myself, like, how is it possible that we're so intimate in the most private, sacred, beautiful things, and really there's no discussion around it? So I always think that it's important for couples to check in or to notice, like, how are you? How was it? Or actually the other way around, for the couples to be able to express, I love being with you. It was so wonderful. You made me so happy. I felt like I was in another world. I love connecting with you, and I think that's so important. So it's actually interesting that in Judaism, we always make a blessing before we do anything physical. You eat, whatever it is, so that we're not stealing from God, because it's God's pleasure, which he grants us, he gifts us. So to acknowledge that this is not a physical pleasure, but a godly pleasure, right? We make a blessing, but it says that for intimacy, there is no blessing. And of course, that's interesting. Like, why not? It's the greatest pleasure, potential for the greatest pleasure of all. And so it says that, first of all, the blessing is made under the marriage canopy, because from that day on, intimacy is a gift to the couple. They are permitted to do it. Of course, in Judaism, there are set times and set, times when we do separate. But this is a gift to the married couple. And so every hug, every kiss, every communication, every look becomes part of this mitzvah of becoming one, joining, and especially to the man, bringing joy to your wife. Because this is something that a man promises his wife in the marriage contract, to feed her, to clothe her, and to bring her enjoyment in the intimate area of her life, to set times to visit, to make sure that she is satisfied in intimacy. So it's all about, let's communicate. Let's find out. This is, many people think it should be automatic, spontaneous. It's just works. And if not, there's something wrong. It's a skill. It's a skill. And I always say, practice makes perfect. And God wants to be, as much as possible. The goal is to be with the same partner for the rest of our life. And so and that's why it's even proven that couples who are married for a long time, intimacy gets better and better and better. Not what some people think, boring, not interesting. No. If we're doing it right, which is connecting. I got to tell you a really interesting story. You're going to love it. So there was an older gentleman who went to his rabbi, and he said to his rabbi, he says, I'm old, I'm tired, I'm it's hard for me. And I want to know if I'm obligated in this mitzvah to be intimate with my wife, and to make sure she's satisfied in the intimate area of her life, if I still am. And he said, and by the way, I did ask my wife if she's okay with it, because he knew the rabbi, that would be the first question, because it's what he promised in the marriage contract. And it says that if a man is going out of town and he's going to be away, a while, and he's not going to be able to be intimate with his wife, or if he's not feeling well, or something's going on, or there's a lot of stress and he's just not able to put himself in the mood, he has to actually come to his wife and say, I'm really sorry, I'm going to make it up to you. I love you so much, but right now, X, Y, and Z. So he said, and if you're wondering, I spoke to my wife and she's okay with it. She's fine. She's ready to give up that part of our life. You are going to love this answer. And so the rabbi said, I want you to know you are obligated in this mitzvah until the day you die. And if your wife is willing to give it up, then you have never kept it properly in your life.
Wow, that was just so potent. I absolutely love that. What about people who have intimacy before their marriage? So they're dating and they decide, okay, this person is not for me, so they break up. Why is it harder if they've been sexually active during their dating process?
It is impossible to be intimate without feeling connected. Even if you want to, even if you plan to, God didn't set it up that intimacy can do that. Just hormonally, what happens in our body, right? The release of oxytocin and other hormones causes us to be connected to the person who we are intimate with. Today, we're very much about getting in tune with your feelings, being able to deeply understand your needs and your desires. Unfortunately, the world for so many years has closed down feelings, desires, natural intuition, what we deeply feel, especially as women who deeply know, even if they want to pretend they don't, deeply know they are looking for connection. That intimacy is a spiritual connection. It is a gift. And when we allow women to get in touch with that, they know that. They believe in it. There's always someone that's hurt. And sometimes it could be the guy, because, guys are not shallow either. And if they allow themselves to also deeply get in touch with their feelings, they know that it's true. And that's why it's very empty when one person goes from one person to the other, and all of a sudden it's like, 1 minute, what is this? And we know that pleasure, there is a purpose to the pleasure.
Yeah.
And the purpose of the pleasure is to connect, to join, to become one. And when the purpose is not fulfilled, it becomes empty and also a source of pain, because deeply when we're in tune with ourselves, we don't want to just connect. with just anyone, not the most sacred inner parts of us. We're always looking, there's so much loneliness in the world, even among married couples, because they're not deeply connecting. And so, of course, it's not automatic and it doesn't happen automatically. But when we do it right, when intimacy is godly and sacred, everything we do for our marriage is blessed.
I think that's a great way how to just sum up this beautiful episode. If my listeners want to connect with you, how can they connect with you?
So Instagram is a great way. It's at Chana Carlebach, my name, ChanaCarlebach. And it's really about marriage and mikvah and intimacy, times of separation and times of togetherness, the power of oneness, the power of being together, which, oh my gosh, I could talk for hours and hours. I will be in November. It will be on the website soon. It's Center BMC, and I will be giving a course, Sacred Secrets, which is actually best practices of why Torah promotes certain practices in intimacy and how we can access the power of this most incredible gift that God gave to married couples to connect to each other, to connect, like we said, to their inner selves, and to connect to God, to empower them to be their best self, for them to actually deeply connect with who they are and then give it over to the world, spread their light in the world. It says, like, intimacy is the microcosm of the world. It says, if you want to see what needs to be improved in your life, in your personality, in your character traits, look what's happening in the bedroom, the details of the bedroom, what's going right or what's personally for you not going right. And by fixing it, by working in this small area in the bedroom, which in Judaism is called the holies of holies, which is like in the temple, there were their cherubs, which on top of it was male and female, hugging each other, looking at each other. When we take care of that, work on that in the fun way, in the deeply pleasurable way, we actually have the ability to fix, improve every part of our life.
And what's your website again?
CenterBMC.com.
We'll add that in the show notes. This was incredible. Do you have any final thoughts you want to share with my listeners before we end off?
Intimacy is an incredible gift to the married couple. Let's reclaim it. Let's appreciate it. And let's enjoy it.
That is a phenomenal way of empowering women in a very real way, in an inner way, and in their most intimate relationship. Thank you for joining today.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining me for today's episode. If you are loving the Spark by Hollywood podcast, kindly leave me a 5-star review on the platform that you're listening on. Be sure to follow me on Instagram at Sparked by Hollywood. That's where the conversations happen. That's where I give you extra content on all my episodes and where you can send me your feedback, your comments, and questions. And finally, in a world where we are all enamored by the spark of Hollywood and its celebrities, always remember your own spark that you carry within you, that makes you the gift that the world needs to shine that much brighter. I'll catch you in the next episode.